we're going to be talking about some of the most important people during the exploration and colonization period. These people have influenced the things that we have talked about and some of the things that we will continue talking about. Our first individual is named John Hooker. He was a Puritan minister, and he migrated to Connecticut. While in Connecticut, around the year 1638, he preached a sermon that greatly influenced the fundamental orders of Connecticut, which the fundamental orders of Connecticut are the first written constitution in the colonies. John Hooker's main ideas are that elections should be the people's responsibility, and people have the power to limit the government, which is known as popular sovereignty and is one of the traits in the Constitution. And also, people should give consent to be governed. Our next individual is John Locke. He believed personal liberties or freedoms could exist with political order, which means as long as the government is keeping order and taking care of business, then we as citizens could have personal freedoms or personal liberties. He also thought that citizens must give consent to be governed. And government can be modified by its creators, which are the people. The people elect the officials to be in the government, then at any time we should be able to modify that. Some main ideas from John Locke is he introduced the idea of having two branches of government, an executive branch having one person in charge, and a legislative branch which would be a lawmaking body. He wrote about things called unalienable rights, things that could never be taken away, such as your life, your liberty, or freedoms. And he wrote the protection of property, which was later changed by Thomas Jefferson when Jefferson wrote the Declaration of Independence to pursuit of happiness as being one of our unalienable rights. Our next individual is Charles de Montesquieu. He expanded on Locke's beliefs by adding a third branch to Locke's two. He added the judicial system, which is a court system. And he also continued writing about the separation of those powers, separating the duties and powers of each of those branches of government. And the main idea for Charles de Montesquieu was for a republic to survive, for a people in a society to survive, education of its citizens is a necessity. That means we must be educated enough to be able to carry on as a republic or a society. Our next individual is William Blackstone. He was important in writing about law and how laws should be followed. And William Blackstone is actually considered the definitive source for some of those early laws and writings about the laws. He's the one that everybody would look to in his opinion. His main ideas was religious tolerance is very important. He also wrote about having natural rights, things that we've referred to earlier as life and liberty. We called those unalienable rights earlier. He calls them natural rights, things that are natural to you, that should never be taken away, that are a requirement almost. Our last individual is William Penn. We've talked some about him, and we know that he founded Pennsylvania for the Quakers. His main idea, though, was that political decisions should be influenced by your religious beliefs. So how you believe religiously, and in his case, how you believe as a Quaker, that should influence your political decisions.